Welcome to episode number 3 of the Career Breakthrough series. I'm your host, Paul Ames, and on the show today we've got Anthony Kirby from Anthony Kirby Coaching. Anthony shares his amazing story of how he transitioned out of the corporate world into the business world and his ups and downs he's gone through there. And also, he gives you some valuable advice on how to maximize your sales in a sales role, or how you can transition into a business of your dreams and scale and grow it. So guys, let's tune in and have a listen to what the amazing advice Anthony has to say. Guys, I just wanted to welcome you to episode number 3 of the Career Breakthrough podcast. I've got an amazing guest and great friend of mine, Anthony Kirby. Now, Anthony's been a previous salesperson of the year. He's been an amazing sales manager in his past career, and he's helped set up a big business in New South Wales in Queensland. Anthony has got a standout coaching practice now, which is scaling to amazing new levels. And I'd just love to welcome you to the show, Anthony. Thanks so much for that, mate. It's awesome to have you on the show and return the favour from being on your podcast previously.
Yeah, mate. It was a little while ago that you were on my show, but it's good to see that you've branched out into the world of podcasting. It's obviously it's a fun world to be in, and the information, hopefully, that we'll be able to provide to the listeners and viewers, because you're doing this on video as well. Yep. Hopefully, we'll be able to fill them in with some good advice today.
Awesome. I'm sure we're going to get some real gold out of it. So, Anthony, just give us a bit of a background on what you've previously done, a bit of background on your business and just on yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Look, so I'll take it back to a couple of years ago. I was working in a corporate role or a professional role, and as you say, I was tasked with setting up a business from scratch in Queensland for New South Wales' largest builder. So to put this in perspective, that's a business that turns over $1 million per day.
Wow.
And so I was given the helm in Queensland, and we set that up from scratch: office, staff, cars, everything. So that was a big role for me. I was paid accordingly. I was paid a very handsome salary, very close to $300,000 salary. And my little boy was born, little Charlie, who's a big part of my life. And when he was born, I decided really that I needed to do more to be there for him. Which stemmed from me losing my father when I was 19. So without going too far into that story, my dad was a very hard-working guy, much like everyone who's watching or listening to this today. And when he passed away, I made a promise to myself that when I had a child, a son or a daughter, that I would do my best to make sure that I was there more for them. Wow. Instead of going out there to earn money. So I walked away from that with really no clear plan, which was a little bit of an error looking back. A bit of a foolish thing to do with a 6-month-old baby. But we started the coaching business. Originally, I wanted to be the next Tony Robbins. I had this whole mantra of chase your impossible, go after the big thing that people tell you can't get.
Definitely.
And the reality was very different to the vision that I had. So the reality led to me spending all of the money that I had used from remortgaging our family home. And we got down to $800.
Wow.
Now, for someone who's got income from $275,000 plus, down to $800 in the bank, that was bloody scary for me. And it was a real turning point in the business for me. So it was back to the drawing board, and we really looked at what I was strong at. The biggest bit of advice I would get is get someone who you can align with, who can show you your weak spots.
Yeah.
So for me, I was so pigeonholed into what I wanted to do. I couldn't see what I was really genius at.
Yeah.
So essentially that led me back to corporate. It led me back to business and business consulting. And so we went into the niche that I was really comfortable with, which is new homes or residential construction for those around the world. I've been training sales teams and working with businesses to engage their culture in a more cohesive way, to change their systems and processes, to increase their revenue, and to drop their marketing spend as well. So essentially what we've done is increase their result and lower their overhead. So it's been a really good ride, and we're turning over some really good numbers now and got some amazing clients, some big household names in Australia. So yeah, it's been a great ride so far.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that, mate. And it's been an amazing journey. As I said, I've kept in quite close contact with you with a lot of things, and it's amazing to see both of our journeys and how far we've come and how different everything's been. So
sure.
Thanks for sharing that. So,
that's all right, mate.
I just want to get a bit of a background on your family history, or basically what were your influences growing up? Did you have a bit of an entrepreneurial influence? Did you have, what were some of the people who influenced you or helped you decide that you really want to get into entrepreneurship or made you take that decision to get out of the corporate world?
Oh, look, that's a really great question. There was really no one in my family that was what I would term as entrepreneurial or business-minded. My dad he was a cop. He was a police officer, so he worked a very sort of service-driven job, I suppose you'd say.
Yep.
But he was really handy. So whilst he didn't go out there and blaze a trail of his own with business, he was fairly handy at a lot of different things. And so I'm probably fairly certain to say that if he lived his same life again, he probably would have chosen to live a more business-minded career.
Yep.
So really, I don't know where it comes from, to be honest. I just have this passion to learn. I have a passion to serve others as well, which probably stems from my father. And I just want to give it a crack. I moved to Australia with nothing.
Yep. And
every time I come up against a big challenge, I just think to myself, what's the worst that can happen? Which is a bad question to ask, by the way. But equally, it's a weighted question to ask when you say, well, what's the worst that can happen is that you can end up with nothing again, which is a shit place to be. But also ask yourself the opposite question: what's the best that could happen if I do this?
Exactly.
So I've always backed myself to perform, even when it was bloody hard. In fact, the room that I'm sitting in right now is my office. And I remember sitting on the floor in here not so long ago, in the fetal position, having a good old cry to myself. And my lovely wife came up and gave me a hug, and she said, look, it's going to be fine. And, the reality of entrepreneurial life, or the reality of business, really, is that shit might get a bit tough.
Yep.
The trick is just be really clear on your outcomes.
Yep.
And be really clear on what you're bloody good at, and don't go after the stuff you're not good at.
Exactly.
That would be the big bit of advice that I've learned from the lessons that I've learned from moving through what I've moved through.
I think that's brilliant advice, mate. And yeah, it definitely is a roller coaster. So for anyone getting into business, just know, like I've said on the past ones, know your why, know what your strengths are, and what your biggest, what the biggest things that you can bring to the table are, and having a strong enough why of what's going to push you to keep going. Because I can totally relate to you, mate. There's been times where I've just gone, why am I doing this? It's so hard. Really big difficulties. And I just wanted to say, what you said is exactly on the point too. I did a post on it not so long ago about people saying, what's the worst can happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? I actually say that to my clients. I say, say for you don't have to take such a massive leap if you want to transition into a new career. You don't have to take a massive leap. You can take small steps. But by thinking, what's the worst thing that can happen? In reality, all it really is you'll end up in the same sort of position in a different job.
Yeah.
Things are never as bad as they seem. Our brain just perceives things to be a lot worse than they actually are. So, that's great advice. I think, another thing I use with people is scaling questions, trying to say on a scale of 0 to 10, how bad is it going to be if this happens? Or, how bad is it going to be if that happens? What about if this great thing happens, which is more likely the reality? So great advice. Thanks for that, mate.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And mate, the other thing I would say as well is, I don't know how many of the people that are listening or watching this have held the hand of someone they love when they take their last breath. It's a pretty cathartic and really deepens your understanding of what you want from life. And for me, when I saw my father pass away, I often ask myself the question, like, if I was in that place right now where I was taking that last breath, would I be pissed off that I didn't take this chance?
Yep.
And if the answer is yes, take the chance. Like, as long as you be reasonable about it, though, right? I mean, I was reckless, to be honest. I obviously remortgaged the family home. I walked away and I just went, bugger it, we're doing it. Yep. And I didn't have any plan. But if you've got a plan and the plan looks solid and you've got someone behind you as a coach or a consultant or whoever you've engaged, someone that you can trust, who's guiding you, trust that person, trust their value, trust the genius that they bring, and go. Just do it. You won't regret it.
Yep, that's brilliant advice and can easily be transferred into your career. I think people are too afraid to reach up to people that are at the level they want to be. So if you want to move up in your career or get to a completely different place that's out of your comfort zone, don't be afraid. Reach up to these people. Get them on as a mentor. Most of them are more than willing to help you. Yeah. That will help leverage you to where you really want to be. That's the biggest thing. As I said, I spoke about it before, but that's what's helped me so much in my business and really helped me, it's been times are tough having that person to talk to or someone to bounce ideas off. It's amazing. So Yeah, it's really good advice, mate. So, I'm just going through what you've previously done in your career. In your careers before this? What are some of the biggest things that you've learned? What's some of the biggest learnings or takeaways from these previous careers that you've done?
My biggest learning from the previous role that I had was that I should have armed myself more with knowledge before I go and throw something at somebody. I was very much at effect, in the cause effect equation. I was always at effect. It was always somebody else's fault.
Yep.
That's been a big learning for me running my own business, is that it's up to me. It's the greatest personal development tool in the world.
For sure.
Because every night when you look in the mirror, the only person you got to answer to is yourself.
Yep.
And so it's really powerful from that perspective. So the biggest takeaway I'd take from my last role is that arm yourself with the knowledge and the facts before you go and blame others, because that really is true leadership. And I feel like I was weak as a leader in that previous role, or weaker than I could have been. Previous roles to that, don't be scared to ask questions. This is a big one, and people are scared to ask questions. If you're in sales, if you want to get a mentor, whatever the situation might be, we're fearful of asking a question for fear of what the answer might be, or the fear of the rejection.
Exactly.
The reality is, you're never going to know unless you ask, and you're better off to know and have clarity around a situation than to make a story up in your mind, which can cause you to have a limiting belief.
Definitely.
All right. So let's just say you want to reach out to a mentor, which is a great point that you made earlier, Paul. Go ask the question and just say, don't go in there and say, I want you to coach me. Because, that's the worst thing you can say. But maybe go in there and just say, look, can I have a coffee with you? I'd love to pick your brain and see what you've done to get to where you are. It's so simple. And most people are more than happy to give you 30 minutes or an hour of your time. And then from there, if they see there's some good value, most people are happy to hand down that value to you.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. If they can see some passion and genuine interest in that
for
career.
Sure.
Like one of the big things I teach is obviously using LinkedIn for professional networking and sending emails to people who are, using the search bar, typing in, say, engineering Perth or engineering Queensland. You'll find people who are engineers in the role you want to get into, for example. I'd send them an email saying, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm trying to break into this industry. I have a keen passion. I'm doing this. Show them you're taking steps to try and get into that industry. I'd love to know your feedback, or, what you think is a way that can help me get in there. Or, I'd love to pick your brain for things. Like most of the time, people will give you the time of day to talk to you. So, yeah, just, how you, moving on from that, how you said about limiting beliefs, that's actually moving to the next area. So what are some of the biggest limiting beliefs or mental roadblocks that you've had to personally work through, whether it be in your business or in your career? What are some of the struggles and really tough points you've hit, and how have you worked through them?
In my previous role, again, taking it back to before I had my business, I had this stigma about my age. I was only 29 when I got that role. The rest of the leadership team, the senior leadership team, were 40 or above. So I was by far and away the youngest person in the boardroom. And I really felt like that was I used it as an excuse not to perform to my potential. Because I always used the thing of, they don't respect me because of my age. And that's bullshit, right? The reality is they respected me because of the skills that I had. It had nothing to do with how old I was or when my date of birth was. So probably from a working perspective, that was a big one for me. And obviously being out of effect. In my current business, the biggest limiting belief I had was that I wasn't good enough to go out there on my own.
Okay.
And this was after I'd started the business. It was only after I'd walked away and started that I realized that I had this limiting belief. And it was bloody hard to get around. I'd sit so many days just sitting there twiddling my thumbs thinking, the phone's going to ring any minute, which was everything against what I'd done so well in my career. It was like I'd forgotten everything because I had this employee mindset versus entrepreneur. I'm not going to use the word entrepreneur because the word entrepreneur dictates that you've ran a successful business and you've got more businesses coming and you're investing and all that stuff. Yep. I prefer to use the term that I bought myself a job, because at this stage I haven't scaled it to the level that I can call it a business that operates without me. So I just want to make that distinction because there's so many people in the world not understanding that right now. And that would be the biggest limiting belief I had around my own business, was that I wasn't good enough to go out there and compete on my own against big global businesses, or to go big. I always played small to start with. and here's a big takeaway I want anyone to take away. Do not aim low. Go as high as you can go and try it. Just give it a crack because you might surprise yourself.
Yep.
So we've worked with Microsoft. We work with GJ Gardner, one of Australia's biggest builders. Actually, one of the biggest builders in America now too. We've worked with a lot of businesses, and I wouldn't have been able to do that unless I was brave enough to reach out to someone on LinkedIn or grab their phone number from someone and say, hey, I want to add some value to your business for free to start with, just so you can see what I'm all about. We'll see if we're a good fit. And then allow them the opportunity to work with me.
That's awesome. And I can relate to that. Like starting off in business, I did exactly the same. Undervalue myself, underprice myself.
Yeah.
Got really not sort of client that I really wanted to work with. You know, they'd never implement anything I wanted. And, you know, since I went, you know what have I got to lose? That was what I kept saying to myself. What have I got to lose by doing this? Stretching myself. I started calling CEOs of businesses and reaching up, not going through the middlemen or the gatekeepers. And since doing that, you get way better results. You know, you run into a lot of blocks, but you keep pushing and eventually you break through and get that big result that you really want. So, yeah,
and the results are sweeter at that level. I think when you really push yourself and apply yourself in a bigger way, it feels so much more satisfying for me.
Definitely.
You know, you just feel like you're really achieving. I don't know. That's my take on it anyway, and I hope that's of some value to you guys out there.
It definitely is. That's great advice. So, what do you feel is at the core of a happy, fulfilled life for you at home and in your business? What do you think is the most important things for you?
You just got the big gun questions, Paul. I love it.
I remember on your interview before, I used to say that, and you're like, I'm full of great questions.
Yeah, mate. Well, you got to be. At home, what's important to me? I would definitely say communication. That's been one big thing that I'm still learning as a business owner, to really leave it at the door, so to speak, and communicate with my wife about what's going on and understand what's going on in her world, so that my marriage is strong. Yep. Making sure I switch the phone off at 5 o'clock. That's a big thing that I say to all of my clients is I want to teach people how to switch the phone off.
Yep. Because
mate, your phone doesn't get put in the coffin with you, and neither does the money.
No.
So, you know, it's the memories that go with you. So make some more memories. So that's from a personal perspective. From a career perspective, being consistent and being true to my word. Yep. So I would rather, in fact, there's a number of clients that I've said no to because I didn't align with them. So don't try and be all things to all people, and don't take on work for the sake of making money. Because it'll be detrimental to your brand. It'll be detrimental to your personal satisfaction in your role, and you'll miss opportunities because you take the wrong ones.
That's perfect. And another thing I feel like you and I are very similar. Like I've gone through exactly the same within the past 6 months, I'd say. I heard it on a podcast about that as well. Don't just take clients on for the money. Find people that align with you, kind of interview them as well. And absolutely. I've started doing that, and the caliber of client I've been working with and the results have skyrocketed now from the people who are willing to take action. It's such a big difference to the people I started off working with who, you know, had all these objections. I'd have to handle all these objections. And now I find the clients that call me are ready to take action, ready to get into the coaching and just go straight forward with me. So, yeah.
It's so true, mate. And speaking of action and taking action, you know, I'm big on that. But, for anyone who's watching this or listening to this, I just applaud you because the first step can be small. It doesn't have to be this huge, big business plan and all that stuff or strategy. It can just be as simple as listening and learning and just understanding and being the observer for a bit. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that before you go on to your next step.
That's brilliant, mate. So, yeah, just want to find out a little bit more about what you're currently doing with your consulting business. So what are you basically, what's a typical day look like for you?
Usually involves getting up. Big distinction I want to make as well. When I started my business, I wanted to build this whole freedom business where I could sit at home and, you know, sell online programs and all that stuff. Reality is there's so many people trying to do that. You've got to get off your ass and start knocking on some doors, and you've got to do some hard yards to get some results. So a typical day for me would usually look like getting up and jumping in the car and driving to a client. I like to spend face-to-face time with clients where I can, at least once a month, only because it just allows you to hear more and see more of what's going on in their world. So a little bit of travel, a few calls to clients that I've already got to make sure that they're on track with their tasks for the week, or to help them out with any strategies that they've got, or any culture issues or staff issues.
Perfect.
And then really at the moment, I only work 5 to 6 days a fortnight. Really, I don't want to do more than that. I think that's a good balance between what I wanted with the whole freedom business and choosing my calendar and spending time with kids. I like to travel with the family and spend time with my children. Every night I like to bath my son. That's my big thing. I want to be home in time to at least put him in the bath and then put him to bed. So that's generally the standard day in the life of Anthony Kirby coaching, basically.
Awesome. Love it. That sounds brilliant. And that's your testament to all the hard work and the effort you've put in. So I remember times where we spoke before where I think you're a bit confused with where you were going, or you changed your direction. And it's a testament to your hard work. I mean, look, you've achieved great results. So, to anyone that's out there thinking, things are so miserable, I can't change, I can't do this, coming up with, these but ifs, I call them in your head, where you go, but if this happens, but if that happens, don't listen to that. It's just crap. So, Anthony's a proven example of what you can do when you put your mind to it and put in the work that you need to do and get clear on what you really want to do. So, that's great.
Yeah, and if anyone's listening or watching who is in the same boat that I was in, where you're in a career that you're thinking of leaving and starting your own gig, reach out to me. I'm happy to spend an hour or two with you on the phone or Zoom or Skype or whatever you want to do, just to try and give you some clarity so you can do it in the right way and not make the mistakes that I'm making. Save yourself 12 months and $100,000.
Exactly. That's brilliant. Oh, thanks so much, mate. You're an absolute legend through and through. So I love talking to you, mate. So what would you say, from what you've learned in your career and in your business, what would be 3 to 5 actionable tips that my audience can take away that can really either help them progress in their career to get either a pay rise or promotion, or to basically, obviously, because you focus a lot on sales teams and that, for anyone who's listening that's in sales, what are some of the best things that they can do and take action on now to make them stand out?
Look, I could probably go into 6,000 different things here, but the reason we do anything is because we want to feel like we're living a good life. All right. Whether that's business or personal or whatever. So I want to just encourage anyone who's listening to get a piece of paper and draw a cross on the page. And in the top box, I want you to write live. And then the box next to that, I want you to write give. And then the bottom box on the left, health. And the bottom box on the right, wealth. So you should have a page with live, give, health, wealth. And then just think about what you want to do in the next 90 days for each of those topics. So live is, what are you going to do to live a little? So yes, you got work, but what are you going to do outside of work to enjoy the rewards that you're creating? So, you're going to go on a trip, you're going to go fishing for a day, whatever it is, but you have to commit to it and you have to put it in your calendar. So whatever you write on there goes straight in the calendar. We have to give some back, all right? Because that's important, because that's how the world works.
Definitely.
So think about something that you're passionate about. Think about a cause that you're passionate about. It could be as simple as helping another business owner, as I've just done by offering, to mentor someone or some of you guys. It can be as simple as that. It could be youth homelessness. I know Paul did the CEO Sleep Out recently. So whatever that is, think of something that you can do to give back of your time, not just money.
Yep, exactly.
Look at your health, because without your health, you got nothing. You're going to have no job, no family, no money, no nothing. So do something for the next 90 days about your health. And again, make it achievable. So don't say I'm going to quit booze and cut out all meat and become vegan and all that stuff, unless you're really hardcore and you can. But make sure you can commit to it. So if that's just, I'm only going to have beer one night a week after work, or I'm going to cut out meat one day a week, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to get in the yard and play with the kids once a week. Health. And the final one is wealth. So set a real goal for what you want to do with your wealth in the next 90 days. So whether that's, save some money towards a house, save some money for that holiday that you've written in the other column, whatever it is, pay off a credit card, invest in some personal development, something that's going to move you towards your longer term goals for your wealth. And your wealth encompasses all areas of your life. It's not just money. So that's really one takeaway that I want people to take. And again, I could go on and on and on and on and on. But the reality is, if you set those 4 areas and then ask yourself each morning, what is my intention today to move me towards those things, those 4 areas? You can't go too far wrong, and you live your life in small chunks so that you get best practice out of it. Don't look too far down the track. Just enjoy it. Enjoy what it is.
Wow, that's probably the most straightforward but effective analogy I've ever seen, or the best thing that people can implement. So I'd definitely jump on that, guys. That's great. And I've done a similar thing, or I'm currently doing a 90-day challenge as well, pretty much similar to that, where you take small chunks of things. Don't try and take a massive leap. I've noticed it with goal planning with a lot of people in their careers, with my coaching clients. When people don't become clear enough on their goals, or setting, I work with setting small goals and then long-term goals. Obviously, small goals lead up to a huge long-term goal quite often, but you need to be specific.
Yeah.
You also need to be measurable.
I would actually add something there, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, mate.
No, that's okay.
I know you're going to go down the whole smart thing, but I'll take it one step further, right? Because even the smart thing can overcomplicate it for some people.
Yep.
The reality is you need it to be simple.
Yep.
Right? What I would recommend, write something down, whatever it is. So write down, I want to lose 10 kgs in 90 days, whatever, right? Whatever it is.
Yep.
And then ask yourself, out of 10, scaling 0 to 10, how much do you believe that you can do it? How much do you believe it?
Yep.
And ask yourself, how much do you desire it? So you got belief and desire, 0 to 10 on both. You got to desire the goal 100%. You got to be driven to get there. First of all,
exactly.
If it's not a 10 out of 10 on desire, pare it back, change your goal, and that's okay. Don't go bigger, go smaller. Same with your belief of getting the goal. If you don't believe you can lose 10 kilos, change it to, say, I want to lose 1 kilo in a month.
Yeah.
Right. Get a 10 out of 10. And then when you do it, celebrate it. So when you get it, you need to have something that you're going to celebrate at the end, and then reset it. Just keep going. But it's a rule. It's going to be my new book, actually, which I'm writing at the moment. It's called the 10 out of 10 rule.
Awesome.
You've got to have 10 out of 10 or you don't set it as a goal. It just doesn't get written down.
Exactly. So. That's brilliant, and I'll definitely share the link to that once your book's written. I'm sure that'll be amazing. I often use scaling questions. I've been taught that with my counseling as well. Scaling questions are so important to gauge where you're at, and for me, it's a little bit different. I basically look at people if they say, my goal's at an 8. I'll say, okay, it's at an 8. What do we need to do to get it to a 10? Or what are some of the steps we need to do to get it to a 10? And then I break down even smaller goals to get them up to that level, to where they want to be. And,
Perfect.
So it's kind of a similar approach, but a little bit different. So that's great advice, mate. Okay, so just moving on from here. So what do you reckon's the best career advice you've ever received? It can be from, parents, friends, mentor, anyone you've heard, any videos, but what do you think is the best advice you've ever heard in your career?
Look, I think from my father. My father said to me, I don't care what you do in life, you could sweep the streets and I'd still love you. Just do something that you love. That's which was really powerful and still resonates with me now. Obviously he's not around. So it's something that I hold really close.
Wow. And
in terms of from an employer perspective, a boss of mine said, don't be a sheep. Don't be a yes man. If you disagree with something, respectfully disagree and make your point.
Exactly.
Don't just say yes for the sake of agreeing with everyone else in the party. That was great advice. And on video, I would say Steve Jobs' Stanford address. One of my favorite speeches ever. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. Stanford address, Steve Jobs, where he says, and again, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know it word for word, but he basically says, if you wake up too many days in a row and ask yourself the question, do I love what I'm doing? If you wake up too many days in a row and the answer is no, change. Make the change. Because you know what? Life is far too short to dwell on that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Get out there and be happy, for God's sake.
Exactly. Yeah. Enjoy life. Enjoy the journey. I think
absolutely
that was one of my beliefs that I struggled with for so long with business. Was I kept looking at the end picture, not enjoying the journey. I was making myself miserable. I was burnt out. At a few points I've considered giving up on my business because I just went, this is just ridiculous. At times you go, and I've found it's actually funny how the universe works. The times where I felt like giving up and seriously considered it are the times when something's pushed me back towards it, whether next day I'd have a reporter from the West Australian calling to interview me, or, something good would happen. And I'm like, well, if that's not a lesson or my message to move forward and keep going with my business, I don't know what is. So
and it's not to say it's a bed of roses, because it's not, but
no.
The challenge is part of the fun.
Exactly.
And there's that fine line, and that's why you've got to make sure your goals that you're setting for yourself are good, solid goals. Because if they're too far out, the challenge is going to be too great. You're going to give in.
Exactly right.
You've got to keep yourself on that edge of growth all the time.
Perfect. I've got a bit of a random question I'm going to throw at you now. So this is one I've learnt in solution focused therapy, part of my counselling I've done. So it's basically, imagine you went to sleep tonight and a miracle occurred, and you could have anything you ever wanted, any of those big goals or anything you've wanted to change or make an impact in the world has come true. You click your fingers and it's happened. What would be one of the biggest things that you'd want to create in this miracle? What would be something you'd want to impact or change for the world?
I just want
anything.
I would love to educate old school businesses on the fact that success has changed and that it's completely okay not to be that wanker corporate person, that you can just be you, be authentic. So that's one. Can I have two things?
You sure can.
So that'd be one thing from an impact perspective. That would be the first thing, because I know that the impact that would have on their families would be phenomenal. And then that would impact all the way down the line for their kids and their kids and their kids. So it would change an entire generation. Secondly, I wish that someone would invent a phone to speak to heaven or whatever that is out there. So, like, I would love to just have a conversation with my dad and just say, "How am I going, champ?" Like, I'd just love to say hello to him. And shit, imagine what we could learn from some of those people that have passed over, the lessons that they could teach us.
Oh, wow. Or just the outside feedback of them looking in on you and just, to help you, push you along and give you some...
Or just saying, you know what, mate, that really doesn't matter. Move on. Like, I think we dwell so much on stuff.
We do, definitely.
Anyway, that would be it.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, the great one.
I love that question, though. What a great question.
You need to get to work on that phone, mate. That can be your next entrepreneur thing. So
yeah, that's my BHAG.
Yeah. Nice. What do you feel like what you're currently doing with your business? I know you've had some soul searching. You've gone from something that didn't quite align with you into business into doing what you do now. Do you feel like this is your why, what you should be doing in life? Do you feel like it lights you up every day and sparks that flame and that fire in you to keep going?
Yeah, for sure. Because again, when I go into the business, it's that same thing. It's about saying, look, success is not what people have taught you. Success can be different. Like, success is, yes, achieve what you want to achieve here, but enjoy it as well. Like, don't just keep going and going and going and going and going, because you're never going to get there. It's like the rabbit chasing the stick, Or what is it? I don't know. The greyhound chasing the rabbit. I don't know. The carrot. Dangling the carrot.
I knew what you meant.
So, because we're constantly looking at that next thing, we're never happy. I mean, and that's human nature to expand and to grow. That's human behavior. But I would say that, the thing that just drives me every day is to get out there and just make a difference to these people. And I see it in their business, and it's beautiful to see. I see them getting results, and they're so surprised with themselves that they can do it so easy.
Definitely.
It's phenomenal. It's brilliant.
Seeing a breakthrough is probably the best thing I can relate. Any sort of coaching or consulting role, seeing people, that snap, it's almost like the switch goes on in their head.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what was I doing that for? You just see that breakthrough. It's the best feeling in the world, and that's why we do what we do.
I love the bit at the start where you're talking to them and you're helping them through their struggles or whatever, and they've got their bullshit meter up. They're like, no, that's not going to work. I've tried it.
Yeah.
I had that whole thing. I've tried everything. No, you haven't. You haven't. So, or they say, no, it won't work. Well, you haven't given it a go yet. So how do you know?
Exactly.
So just bloody give it a go. And when they do, and they see, like, they get that thing, as you say, that snap, and they're like, and it's powerful.
Oh, definitely. It's amazing. Yeah. This is going to go on to what you think your biggest positive habit is, and what you think the most negative habit or belief, or what's the best thing you've got that you do every single day, which really helps contribute to your success, and what's the thing that you think holds you back or impedes you from getting one?
It's the same thing for both. I'm stupidly driven to the point of distraction.
Yeah.
I'm a very big picture person. I struggle with detail. And that's a real blessing for me, because I don't get caught up, but it's a real curse for me sometimes as well. But that's why I've got a brilliant offsider, my wife. She keeps me really on track. She's brilliant for my business. And obviously, as we add more staff members to the team to help me out as well. So, I'm aware of that weakness, but I'm also aware that it's my biggest strength.
Perfect. That's the biggest thing everyone can take away from this is know what your strengths and weaknesses are. Capitalize on them. Capitalize on both of them. Know what your weaknesses are and figure out how you can either develop and refine them to make them more into a strength, or, especially in business, find someone that, has that as their biggest strength. Don't get people with the biggest strengths that you've got as well. Find someone with the opposite. That's why it's so good. I'm exactly the same. My wife helps bring me to balance. My biggest one is I get distracted by shiny objects. So someone will pitch a new idea or something to me. I'll go, oh, yes, I'm going to do that. And then I'm like, it's taking me away from what I should be doing, I need
one thing I want to say there, Paul, just while it's on my head. So many people, they say, well, I'll learn about the thing that I'm weak in. So I've got a weakness in, I don't know, accounting. So I'm going to go and learn how to do accounting so I can do it for my business. But if you're at a 1 and by learning you're going to get to a 6, that's still just outsource it. Like get someone who's a 10. Don't waste your time. Like use that time of learning to take your 9s and 10s to like 11s and 12s, like focus on what you're really good at. Don't waste your time with the other shit.
No,
it's too short.
Exactly. If it's not important to you, it doesn't align, then
get it out.
So what would you say is your biggest, what do you think is the biggest successful book or resource or the best thing that you have or implement in it every day? And that can be, an app, website, anything like that. What do you think is something that really helps you out on a daily basis?
Book that changed my life, The Magic of Thinking Big.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great book. In fact, I got it right here.
Visual as well. Wow.
There you go.
Nice. There we go.
Great book. Look, not a really long read. Bit old school. I think it was written in the 30s or 40s or something. But
wow.
It's just got a brilliant message in there about the fact that as a human race, we are more alike than we are different. And we start to think like that the people that we want to reach out to are more similar to us than they are different, regardless of position, rank, income, cars, suits, whatever. I think that was a really powerful lesson for me to learn in stepping up in my world.
Perfect. That's great. Yeah. So we're just ready to wrap up. So what's some parting advice that you'd love to share with my audience to help them in their career? What do you think some of the best advice you could share or the best things that you've learned you could help my audience with?
Listen to your gut instinct. Yeah, that would be number one. And if you're going to make the jump, just do it. Back yourself.
Yeah.
Listen to that gut instinct. If something's telling you that it's not right, it's not right. Trust it. Don't worry about what Facebook says. The other big thing I would say is gather advice from people, but don't allow that advice to become your reality.
Oh, yeah.
Still take your own, use it as feedback, but still make your own choice.
Yep.
All right. So look at both sides of the coin and then decide which one you're happy with and move forward. And if their advice doesn't resonate with you, disregard it.
Exactly. And I was actually just going to do a video on that today on a live stream about the influence of others and how it basically holds us back, and we shouldn't listen to what other people tell us, because quite often these people are miserable in their own job and they're forcing what they want you to do that's going to make them happy, or what they should have done and they regret not doing in their career. So, we get these opinions from our family, friends. I even remember when I started my business, nobody was really supportive of me doing it. They're like, oh, why do you want to do that? Or coming from a manual labor background, what do you want to be a counselor for? And I was like, because this is in my heart. You can feel it in your soul,
Yeah.
And so my biggest thing is, respect, like what you said, respect what people tell you and decide whether it aligns with you or not, as to whether to take that advice on board or not.
That's right.
Don't live out someone's life.
Yeah, you don't have to, you can respect it, but you can still disagree.
Exactly.
There's mutual respect there, but, yeah.
Well, mate, thank you so much for the interview. I loved having you on. You shared some amazing gold and some amazing tips and strategies for my audience. So where can everyone connect with you? What's the best place to connect with Kirby?
I would say jump onto Facebook, just search for Anthony Kirby Coaching. You'll find me on there, or connect with me on my personal profile as well. Just search for Anthony Kirby, you'll find me. Or my website, anthonykirby.com, which is undergone a bit of a revamp, so you might see that it's down for a day or two, but you should be able to see me on there somehow.
Perfect. Yeah. That's brilliant. And as I said, once your book's up and live, I'm definitely going to share that with the audience. And you guys, I'd strongly recommend you jump on board, because Kirby is just a wealth of knowledge. He has so much gold in his head. It's just brilliant. So I'll share all the links in the show notes below. And thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate you being on. And I just want to welcome you to the Career Breakthrough Tribe.
Anthony has decided to give us a completely exclusive offer that normally sells for $500. He's giving you guys, just the listeners of this show, a free coaching call worth $500. Anthony's here to help you with any issues you might have, whether you're in a sales role, looking to maximize your sales, or if you're in trying to transition into a business and don't know where to start or how. Anthony said he is more than willing to help out the listeners of this show. So, if you want to get in contact and claim this free coaching call, what you need to do is email anthony@anthonykirby.com. Guys, jump on board, because this is exclusive just for listeners of the show, so I wouldn't miss out on this offer. Thanks, guys. I look forward to sharing another episode with you next week.